Underneath Eritrea's rocky surface lie precious metals that could turn the country around. Reserves of gold, zinc and copper have been found here, and analysts are predicting a mining boom. 14 foreign firms are exploring in the country, and the first project is expected to start producing gold by late 2010.
Great. Now,
Alem Kibrab is the Director General of Mines in the Ministry of Energy and Mines.
We believe mining will play an important role in boosting the economy, and the government is committed to develop it. Based on the geology we have, which is about 60% covered by the greenstone belts, which is a good host for copper, gold and other base metals. And based on the discoveries, on the recent discoveries we have now, I believe Eritrea will be is going to be a mining country. It will be in the map of the mining countries of the world. For a small country and in size, the geology is really very prospective.
Authorities here want the sector to be developed slowly and carefully to prevent the so-called resources curse, where oil and minerals have spawned corruption and violence elsewhere in Africa. In a recent interview with Reuters East Africa Bureau Chief Andrew Cawthorne, Eritrea's President Isaias Afwerki said the mining sector is not a magic solution for its economy and needs to be managed wisely.
Let's not be misled that this gold is going to change everything, and let's not be getting relaxed and trying to rely, or at least anticipating to heavily rely on this resource may be crippling.
Yeah.
You need to have the environment for growth.
Yeah.
And that is the infrastructure. You need to have the appropriate tools put in place, and then you can fully utilize. Big, small revenues could be utilized for giving more impetus to the economy, changing the quality of life.
Eritrea is Africa's youngest nation and has one of the smallest economies on the continent. The country, with a population of about 4 million people, almost never was. Eritrea was once an Italian colony, then was federated with Ethiopia in 1952. But Ethiopia had wanted to turn Eritrea into a mere province, and the long struggle for independence began. The liberation of the capital Asmara in 1991 marked the end of 30 years of fighting. Then fighting started again in 1998 when a border dispute boiled over into an all-out battle with Ethiopia that cost tens of thousands of lives. The war ended with a ceasefire in May 2001 and the deployment of UN peacekeepers. Afwerki has guarded his country jealously since independence, pushing a self-reliance attitude that encourages Eritreans to rebuild Eritrea for themselves. Back in 1996, locals, mostly with only military experience, renovated the railway and airport systems destroyed in 3 decades of war. But even as Eritrea was rebuilding, many who fled the country during both wars have never returned. Reports of widespread human rights abuses and a clampdown on free press have kept many Eritreans away.
We have a very powerful opposition, and that is the CIA. It buys people, and you can find that kind of Eritrean anywhere. They can organize them, they can finance these individuals, they can have 1 million websites for them, with all the attempts to use the diaspora as an opposition, even trying to create a diaspora of smuggling people out, human trafficking, doing this and that to create an opposition outside, has been frustrated. People in this country are very patriotic. We have in our history traitors. It's a long history.
However, wealthy exiles are contributing to Eritrea's development. Money sent from the diaspora is said to have helped fund million-dollar housing projects like this one in Asmara. Although Eritrea has not always let in the outside world, it is now starting to open up. The government intends to launch free trade zones at its main ports in Massawa and Assab on its Red Sea coast later this year. Nearly 20,000 vessels a year pass Eritrea, loaded with some 700 million tons of cargo. This is more than 9% of the estimated 7.7 billion tons carried by global shipping. Authorities say dozens of firms have already registered to operate here.
We don't want to deal with those.
Eritrea Free Zones Authority's chief executive, Eritreaexpandsitseconomy, is a U.S.-educated economist who ran Eritrea's central bank for several years after independence.
And by being in the free zone, they are, given benefits that are normally not given to the non-free zone companies. They don't pay taxes. There are no import or export taxes, no corporate taxes, no profit taxes, any kind of taxation. That is one. And then secondly, they can repatriate their capital at will. They can operate their foreign currencies as they wish. So there's a lot of, less hassle being the free zone in Eritrea.
Some see the free zones as over-ambitious for Eritrea, but the government hopes they will create employment, train locals, and develop foreign trade. Expectations are high, but the skeletons of war will not go away anytime soon. Afwerki is now 63 years old and has just celebrated Eritrea's 18th Independence Day. He has no role models for the future, but admires Cuba, a country analysts sometimes compare to his.
I don't know Cuba, but I admire the resilience.
Yeah.
I mean, I can talk about that in isolation of other experiences. I mean, I say, how were they able to do it? And even when I can think I can do it, I mean, being near to the United States, and the United States blockading this country for so many decades, how were they able to do that? And how was it possible for them to have the best scientists in terms of biotechnology, the best health services? They're providing health services to many countries in Africa, in Southern America. These kinds of things you admire.
In its own time, Eritrea hopes to make its mark as a strong economy in the region. The path is not easy for such a small country, but if successful, it will change the way the world looks at Eritrea for future generations.